Get ready for a interesting 2026 of harsh and unannounced layoffs everywhere. As of January 2026, one of the most trusted and recognizable names in global logistics, UPS, is quietly but decisively reshaping its workforce. Not because the company is failing, not because deliveries have stopped, not because the trucks aren't rolling, but because the world that built UPS into a giant has fundamentally changed. For decades, UPS represented something rare in the American workforce: stability, strong wages, union protection, and a clear long-term path. It was a place where people built careers, not just jobs. A place where effort, seniority, and time actually meant something. But in 2026, even UPS is no longer immune to the pressures reshaping the global economy. UPS currently employs around 490,000 people worldwide. That includes full-time delivery drivers, part-time package handlers, warehouse workers, seasonal staff, logistics coordinators, and thousands of corporate and management employees who keep the operation running behind the scenes. It is a massive operation, one of the largest private employers in the world. And yet, despite its size and continued profitability, UPS has announced plans to cut up to 30,000 jobs in 2026. That number alone is enough to raise eyebrows. But the real story lies beneath the headline, because these cuts are not happening evenly across the company, at least not yet. The layoffs are primarily targeting management and administrative roles, layers of leadership, oversight, and support positions that expanded rapidly during the e-commerce boom of the past decade. These roles grew when volume grew, and now, as volume contracts, those roles are being reassessed. And that brings us to the single word that once symbolized security for UPS workers: Amazon. For years, Amazon was one of UPS's largest and most reliable customers. Millions upon millions of packages flowed through UPS facilities every year. Predictable volume, reliable revenue, long-term contracts. For UPS workers, Amazon volume meant job security. But Amazon did what Amazon always does. It built its own system. Over the past several years, Amazon invested billions of dollars into its own delivery infrastructure, warehouses, aircraft, vans, last-mile logistics, routing software, and independent delivery contractors. Slowly, quietly, methodically, and as that internal system matured, the volume that once flowed through UPS began to shrink. Not overnight, not dramatically at first, but consistently, and fewer Amazon packages meant something had to give. In 2026, that something is people. UPS leadership has framed this restructuring as a necessary step toward efficiency, a way to stay competitive in a logistics market that is becoming faster, leaner, and increasingly automated. A preparation for a future where margins are tighter and demand is less predictable. On paper, the explanation makes sense, but for workers inside the system, it feels very different. Because UPS is not just another corporation. UPS is known, almost legendary, for offering some of the highest paying blue-collar jobs in America. A full-time UPS delivery driver earns an average total compensation package of approximately $145,000 per year. That figure includes base wages, overtime, pension contributions, and something that has become increasingly rare in modern America: $0 healthcare premiums. Local tractor-trailer drivers earn around $112,000 per year in wages alone, not including benefits. These are jobs that do not require a college degree, jobs that once represented the American ideal: work hard, show up, gain seniority, and retire with dignity. But that compensation comes at a cost. UPS drivers routinely work 60 hours or more per week. The work is physically demanding, the schedules are unforgiving, the pressure to meet delivery windows is constant, injuries are not uncommon, burnout is real. Still, for decades, many workers accepted that trade-off because UPS represented something increasingly rare in the modern economy: stability. and that stability has been protected in large part by the union. A significant portion of UPS workers are represented by the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. For decades, the Teamsters have fought to preserve seniority rules, benefits, pensions, and job protections that made UPS employment so desirable. Those protections didn't happen by accident. They were negotiated, they were defended, and they were fought for. Now, as restructuring unfolds, the union is watching very closely. The Teamsters have already opposed previous company-led separation and buyout programs, calling some of them invalid and warning that restructuring cannot become a backdoor strategy to weaken union labor. Their message is clear and direct. If today's cuts stay in management, that's one thing. If tomorrow's cuts reach drivers, there will be a fight. And that's the tension hanging over UPS in 2026. Because while company leadership insists that frontline delivery jobs remain secure, history tells us something important. Corporate restructuring rarely stops where it starts. What begins in management often moves outward. What starts as efficiency can become cost reduction. And what is framed as strategic can quickly become personal. This moment at UPS is not just about layoffs. It's about a broader shift in how work functions in modern America. Even the best jobs, unionized jobs, high-paying jobs, benefit-rich jobs, are no longer untouchable. Even profitable companies will cut roles if the math demands it. UPS isn't collapsing, it isn't failing, it's adapting. But adaptation today looks very different than it did 20 years ago. It means fewer middle managers, leaner corporate structures, more automation, higher pressure on the workers who remain. And that leads to the question that matters most, one that goes far beyond UPS. What happens when your entire financial life depends on a single employer, and that employer decides the system needs to change? For drivers, the money is still good for now. For management, the warning has already arrived. And for everyone watching from the outside, the message is unmistakable. No job is untouchable anymore. Which brings us to the part of the story that matters most. What you do next. Because while corporations restructure their balance sheets, workers have to restructure their thinking. If you're listening to this and asking yourself, what would I do if my role disappeared? How do I protect myself from decisions I don't control? How do I build income that doesn't vanish with one announcement? Then this moment is bigger than UPS. If you're looking for a side hustle, additional income streams, or future-proof opportunities, take a look at ehustle.ai, the only AI-powered side hustle platform designed to actually work. Be among the first to gain access when it launches. And now, we want to hear from you. Do you think these UPS layoffs are just the beginning? Would you stay loyal to one job or start building something on the side? What would you do if your income was suddenly at risk? Subscribe for more real-world breakdowns like this. Comment below and let us know your thoughts on the new wave of layoffs and how you're preparing to make money in a changing economy. Because in 2026, the smartest move isn't waiting to be effected. It's moving before you have to. This is Avoice Podcast.